everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Raccoon Club podcast. So today we're going to talk about the new poll numbers that came out for Donald Trump and why I think once again the media is missing the story behind what these numbers actually mean, not just for Donald Trump, but for the Democrats and the Republican Party and the nation as a whole. So the new poll numbers came out, and they said that Trump is at his lowest poll numbers are at 34% approval rating. And they say it as if it is sort of a unified message that the American people are giving Donald Trump, that they're unhappy with him. But once again, when you dig deeper into the poll numbers, you see the problem that the Republicans are in, and quite frankly, that the nation is in terms of how to move forward with things. So assuming that you believe the media narrative right now, Donald Trump is very unpopular, which seems to imply that people aren't happy with the way things are going, which seems to imply that there's going to be a lot of pushback, which seems to imply that there may be a lot of pressure coming down on the Republican Party to do something about it. But if you dig deeper into the poll numbers, you see the trap that the Republican Party is caught in, and how I think that there's no easy way out for them. In fact, I think the problem gets worse instead of it getting better. So the numbers I'm going to be quoting to you today come from the recent Fox News poll of August 31st. And the reason why I'm picking the Fox News poll is because these numbers probably represent the most accurate analysis of the Republican base, which is what matters right now. And you'll see what I mean when we talk. Donald Trump is the least interesting person in Washington right now because he actually isn't what matters. It's the Republican base is what matters. They're the ones that count. It's their opinion that will determine the direction that Donald Trump goes in because he seems to respond and feed off of his base. So let's see what Republicans think, and let's see how that compares with the narrative right now that Donald Trump is unpopular. When asked, do you approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing as president, 82% of Republican voters approve of the job he is doing. When asked, do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling health care, 69% of Republicans approve. When asked, do they approve or disapprove of the way he's handling immigration, 84% of Republicans approve of what Donald Trump is doing. When asked, do they approve or disapprove of what Donald Trump is doing in regards to race relations, 71% of Republicans approve of what he's doing. When asked, do you approve or disapprove of how he's handling Russia, 70% of Republicans approve of what he's doing. When asked if they approve or disapprove of how he's handling North Korea, 79% of Republicans approve of how he's handling North Korea. So now let's put this in perspective. Now let's compare Donald Trump's poll numbers with other Republican poll numbers. And you begin to see where I think the problem of the Republican Party lays. When asked if they have a favorable or unfavorable viewpoint of John McCain, again, one of the big establishment Republicans, 44% of Republicans have a favorable view of John McCain. When asked if they have a favorable or unfavorable view of Mitch McConnell, again, the Senate Majority Leader, a stalwart in the Republican establishment, 29% of Republicans have a favorable view of Mitch McConnell. When asked if they have a favorable or unfavorable view of Paul Ryan, 57% of Republicans have a favorable view of Paul Ryan. Over 50% believe that the word presidential describes Donald Trump. When asked if the term strong leader, how that phrase describes Donald Trump, over 70% of Republicans felt the term strong leader was either a very well description or an extremely well description of Donald Trump. So what I'm trying to get at here is that the Republican base itself is enamored with Donald Trump. They completely support him. These poll numbers are incredible as far as internal poll numbers are concerned. So why does that actually matter? It matters because, as I mentioned in a previous podcast, the way the Republican Party is structured now, it is a white Southern state party. They cannot expand beyond that. Their base, their white Southern base, absolutely loves Donald Trump. They will support him to the ends of the earth. If you're getting these poll numbers and you're being told that the nation as a whole doesn't like Donald Trump, as a Republican, that means nothing to you, because in your primaries, in your states, he's probably beloved by the very people that are going to show up and vote for your primary and for you in the next election. Now, yes, you may have to find a way to move and sway some independent voters, but your bloc, your stalwart base, absolutely loves Donald Trump, which is something that I've been saying for a while now, which at what point do we acknowledge that the problem with America is not Donald Trump? The problem with America is a Republican base absolutely supporting, absolutely loving, and not checking Donald Trump in any way. As long as the Republican base gives Donald Trump an 82% approval rating, there is nothing that anyone can do to stop this guy, because he has no vested interest to do anything. Think about it from his position. He's got a Republican Senate, he's got a Republican Congress, and obviously he's a Republican president. And 82% of Republican voters approve of the job he's doing. Why in the world would he do anything differently? What incentive does he have to do anything differently? What pressure is there for him to change his mind on any possible policy? And that is the trap that the Republican Party is caught in right now. It's never been Donald Trump. It has always been the Republican base. If Donald Trump is racist, then the Republican base is racist because he's getting an 82% approval rating. If Donald Trump is reckless, then the Republican base is reckless because he's getting an 82% approval rating. If Donald Trump is ignorant about the facts, if he doesn't know what healthcare policy is, if he doesn't have any foreign policy credentials, any foreign policy ideas, then the Republican base is guilty of those things because he has an 82% approval rating. If you're a senator or if you're a congressman, what incentive do you have to pick a fight with him when he has an 82% approval rating in his own party? Paul Ryan only has a 52% or 57% approval rating. That's nothing given the power that Donald Trump has in terms of likability within his own party. When the media says that Donald Trump has a disapproval rating of 34%, that means nothing because he is getting tremendous support from the Republican base, which means that the Republican base is going to be putting a tremendous amount of pressure on every senator, on every congressperson to support his ideas. When will the media admit that the problem with American government is not a Donald Trump problem, is not that his staff or his White House aren't disciplined enough, that they have a messaging issue? At what point will the media acknowledge that America has a Republican Party issue, that America has a Republican base issue, that as long as 40% of the country is giving Donald Trump an 82% approval rating, nothing gets better, nothing moves forward, there is nothing anyone can do to really stop him. Because anyone that tries to do something to impeach him, to halt his policies, are going to get crushed during the primaries, are going to get crushed during their reelection. Because Donald Trump is going to show up to their district and tell the people that give him an 82% approval rating that that guy tried to stop my bill, that that guy tried to sabotage my policy, that that guy tried to stop me from making America great again. Presidents aren't emperors. They don't have the ability to do anything by themselves. They have to mobilize their base, and then they have to mobilize their party. And when the Republican Party has backed itself into a corner, electorally speaking, they cannot do anything but serve the base because they depend on every single vote to be elected. And just to let you know, all those stats are the complete opposite for Democrats. Democrats disapprove of Trump by 94%. So the idea that somehow there is a consensus within the nation about a disapproval of Donald Trump is insane. There is not a consensus. There's not a consensus at all. You have the Republican base absolutely in love with Donald Trump. And then you have everyone else that sees that he's a fraud, sees that he's dangerous, sees that he's an idiot. But as I said before, even that's still a distraction, because the power lies in the American government, in the House and in the Senate. Those two institutions are meant to check the powers of the presidency. But when you have an extraordinarily popular president who just happens to be very dangerous, who just happens to be very ignorant, what does a party do to stop him when their elections depend on the same base of people turning out who love the president, who's incompetent, who's dangerous, who's racist, who's erratic, who's childish, who's bitter, who has no attention span whatsoever, who is too busy trying to find a way to make a buck on the side, going to Mar-a-Lago every other day for golfing? If you want to change, if you want to address the problem, the political problem in America, the only way you can have that discussion is to start off by saying, until something is done about the Republican Party base, nothing is going to get fixed in this country. Until or unless the Republican Party is able to convince the Republican base that Donald Trump is an erratic, dangerous, incompetent president, nothing will change. All these Republicans are going to get screwed over by the Republican base if they try and stop him. All these Republicans are going to get stomped on by the Republican base if they try and stop him. Remember the Obamacare town halls? Remember when people came out screaming and yelling and freaking out that there's going to be death panels, that Obamacare was communism? Wait till you see the base rage that's going to come out against Mitch McConnell, that's going to come out against Paul Ryan, that's going to come out against Lindsey Graham or John McCain if they dare get in the way of making America great again. I'll say it again. The problem with the Republican Party and the problem with America's political system is not Donald Trump. He is a symptom of the problem. The disease is the Republican base. The disease is a group of people that give Donald Trump an 82% approval rating when he has accomplished absolutely nothing in 6 months. He has not passed a single bill. He is nowhere near getting health care done. He is nowhere near getting tax reform done, quote unquote tax reform, which is really a massive tax giveaway to the 1%. He is nowhere near getting his wall built. He is nowhere near negotiating anything with China. He's probably going to fail miserably renegotiating NAFTA. He promised to get out of Afghanistan, but he's doubled down and sent over 5,000 troops, which is kind of funny because I remember Republicans saying that Hillary was going to be the warmonger. He equated Nazis with demonstrators against Nazis. 82% approval rating. That is the problem with the political apparatus within America. And until the media acknowledges that, until the media stops pretending that this is an issue of both sides, until the media stops pretending that the problem is Donald Trump tweeting all the time, you'll never fix this issue. This situation will just get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, again, I love it. I am a fan of chaos. I'm a fan of anarchy. I love watching political systems strain to the breaking point. I love watching political cowards such as Paul Ryan, such as Mitch McConnell, doing backflips, defending Trump's erratic policies, insane policies. I love watching them pretend that he's a normal president. I love watching them pretend that he is rational, that he has good ideas. Because there's something amazing about watching these people who have spent a lifetime building a political career, trying to build credibility, trying to build a stature of respectability, to now be utterly humiliated by this guy, to become subservient to him, to have to satisfy his ego, to have to satisfy his childishness. There's something just spectacularly satisfying for me to watch these pricks have to do this to themselves. It's like a divine punishment. If there is a God, this is how he would play this thing out.